I'd first like to start by asking all of you a question. Suppose that you are trapped inside a completely empty room. You have no idea how long you're going to be there for. Maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks. You are, however, given a choice between two options. The first option is you have food, but you're unable to sleep. Now the second option is you can sleep, but you have no food. So could I just see a raise of hands for those of you who would choose the first option? All right, thank you. Now could you please raise your hand if you will choose the second option? Oh, so maybe you figured out that this was a trick question. So for those of you who chose the second option, congratulations, because you will survive longer than the people who chose the first option. Sleep deprivation will kill you faster than starvation. Now, does that surprise you? I was hoping that it does, and maybe it does. But I'm sure most of you have also heard of the following statement. The average person spends 1/3 of his or her life asleep. Now, if that 1/3 does not catch your attention, allow me to put it this way. You spend approximately 25 years of your life sleeping. Yes. Now, 25 years, wow. You're probably thinking to yourselves, I'm literally wasting 25 years of my life doing nothing, lying in bed, unconscious. Couldn't we be doing something much more important with those 25 years? I mean, just looking back at the past decade, we've made so many advancements in society. So what more could we do with those 25 years? Reality is that, however, our body begins to malfunction with even a single night of sleep deprivation. In fact, research shows that a single night of short sleep results in a weakened immune system, a rising cortisol level, which causes you to feel more stressed, increased blood sugar level, decreased cognitive performance, such as complex decision-making, inability to concentrate, memory impairment, and inability to regulate emotions. Now, that's just scratching the surface of what one night of sleep deprivation can do to you. From a broader perspective, sleep deprivation is also responsible for numerous traffic accidents. In fact, a 2013 report from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that 72,000 crashes, 44,000 injuries, and 800 deaths were all due to drowsy driving, and these numbers are said to be far underestimated. Another aspect of reality is that sleep deprivation is becoming a worldwide epidemic. But before we go on, what is sleep deprivation? You've probably heard the word being used here and there, but it's quite ambiguous and it's difficult to define in a single phrase. As of today, I will be defining sleep deprivation simply as not obtaining the adequate amount of sleep. And that adequate amount for teenagers, according to the National Sleep Foundation, is 8 to 10 hours, while for adults, it's 7 to 9 hours per night. Now, according to Stanford Medicine, in United States alone, more than 87% of high school students fail to obtain the adequate amount of sleep. In South Korea, as some of you may imagine, a typical high school student sleeps an average of 5 hours and 17 minutes per night. New data from Sleep Cycle, which is an app that keeps track of your sleep schedule and your sleep quality, shows that no country in the world now manages to get 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis. Now, those statistics are staggering, but they don't quite apply to us. So let's narrow down our demographics to something within our own community, Dalat high school students. For my final project in my capstone class, I created a survey that was intended to find the prevalence of sleep deprivation among high schoolers, as well as the factors associated with it. I asked varieties of questions, starting with emotional struggles, to sleep schedule, to technology use. Now, from my survey, I found that over 60% of high school students are in fact sleep deprived. So in the next couple slides, I will be presenting you with some of these data. And I'd like to note that I've only chosen the statistically significant ones. So first off, I've separated the data by grade level. And these are the top 3 data that I thought was most worth mentioning to you. So first we have average sleep time. Grade 9 takes the lead with an average of 7.3 hours per school night. Now if you remember what I said earlier, 7.3 is still less than the recommended 8 hours of sleep. Next up, we have academic stress. The juniors taking the lead, with 85% of the class experiencing academic stress. Now, this may not be surprising to you. However, they also take the lead, with the highest percentage of their class experiencing depression, not far behind the sophomores. Now, I'd like to note here that when we are talking about depression, 23% is a significantly big number. So in the next couple slides, I've separated the variables into two categories: students who don't get enough sleep and students who do get enough sleep. So again, we have academic stress, and I found that 71.5% of sleep-deprived students indicated experiencing academic stress. And as you will notice, there is a near 20% difference between the two groups of students. Next, we have depression. 21.5% of sleep-deprived students indicated experiencing depression. Now, that percentage is nearly double that of students getting enough sleep. The same applies for self-targeted stress, which is basically any dissatisfaction you have with yourself. Now, one interesting correlation I found was between nap takers and short sleepers. As you can see here, 43.1% of sleep-deprived students also indicated that take naps regularly. So if you are a heavy napper out there who also happen to be sleep-deprived, I hope this data speaks out to you. Now this one I thought was very interesting. 60.3% of students who get enough sleep were Western, while 79.2% of sleep-deprived students were Asian. Now, I don't exactly know why this is the case. I didn't have the chance to dive deeper into this correlation. However, if you are an Asian family out there, I hope you take this moment to ask yourselves, is your child getting the sleep they need? Are you getting the sleep you need? And if not, why not? Now here we have the top 3 reasons as to why Dalat high school students stay up late at night. The first and top reason is academics. 80.8% of sleep-deprived students are sleeping late because of academics, and you will notice there is a significant 30% difference between the two categories. Next up, we have stress and anxiety. Now, why are students staying up late because of stress, because of anxiety? Are they perhaps checking PowerSchool or submitting college apps right before bed? Or are you, the parent, also contributing to this source of stress? Are you asking your student about the approaching SAT deadline or the college essay deadline? How well are you, the parent, reminding your student to take a breath, to appreciate the sunset, to reminding them that tomorrow the sun will in fact rise again, and that they should just relax and have a good night of sleep? Now, it's not only the parent's fault. We are all surrounded by technology, and all of us are subject to distraction. In fact, I struggle from this myself, and Dalat high school students are no exception. How important is that one YouTube video? How important is your GPA? How much more important is your physical and mental well-being? And how much effort are you putting into getting enough sleep? In my survey, I asked the students to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 as to how much effort they put into getting enough sleep. And as shown here, a significant 70.5% of students who get enough sleep indicated that they rated themselves a 7 or an above. And what this basically means is that in order for you to get enough sleep, you must be intentional about it in order to do so. Lastly, the effect of sleep deprivation. Now, this percentage might as well be the highest number you will see throughout my talk, or perhaps even throughout this whole evening. 92.3% of students staying up late because of academics, because of depression, because of stress and anxiety, are not performing their best, not looking their best, and definitely not feeling their best. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not giving our students, our children, ourselves, a chance to dream. So far, I've thrown numbers at you to prove that this is an ongoing phenomenon, that this is not some distant study being circulated around the internet. No, this is happening within our community right here and right now. But maybe you're still sitting there thinking, so what if I don't sleep? I have coffee, I can manage a little stress. I like to say this to all of you here with us today. Don't take your ability to sleep for granted. A few weeks ago, I had the chance to interview someone who has been suffering from severe chronic insomnia for the past 30 years. His name is Bob, and on a good night, he gets around 5 hours of sleep. On a bad night, he will get 2 to no hours of sleep. Now, he did not tell me that he just feels a little tired throughout his day and solves that problem simply by drinking coffee. No, he told me that his condition affects every aspect of his life. He's not as high functioning as a normal human being. In fact, he has a much lower capacity to do work than an average person. By 1 in the afternoon, he's no longer able to engage or interact with people, and he becomes very short-tempered. He currently suffers from depression, and he told me that he is constantly exhausted and constantly lethargic. He said that he seems to be working at the level of a 65-year-old, not a 55-year-old. And he also said that he knows it's taking away years from his life. And so I asked him, what do you have to say to these students, these people who are intentionally depriving themselves of sleep for whatever reasons? And he told me, don't take your ability to sleep for granted. So why am I up here today talking about this? Why is this any of our concern? Because we teach our students, we teach our children that we must exercise and we must eat nutritious food in order to be healthy, but without emphasizing the importance of sleep, we, ladies and gentlemen, we are simply building sandcastles right by the waves. Research has shown that short sleepers are at higher risk for up to 10 chronic health conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, obesity, asthma, and depression. For the adults with us here today, I think I can safely say that all of you are afraid of Alzheimer's disease. In fact, I think it's the most terrifying ways to die. But what if I told you that sleep deprivation is a huge contributing factor to Alzheimer's? We frown upon habits such as smoking because lung cancer and death, but what if I told you that sleep deprivation also increases your risk of mortality? I am not here today to warn you about drowsiness. I am here today because our Dalat high school students are victims of sleep deprivation, and maybe you are as well. And that's not something we can dismiss because of a norm. I cannot tell you that Dalat high school students need less work. I don't have the evidence to say that the 80% of students staying up late because of academics are doing so because they procrastinate. I do wish to suggest, however, that perhaps this is a possible addition or even necessary addition to our curriculum. Maybe we should be teaching our students, educating them about the beauty, the science of sleep, why we sleep, as well as the horrifying effects of what happens when we don't get enough of it. Just as how we learn in fitness class about the dangers and risks associated with lacking exercise. For the parents and students with us here today, I hope that I have at least planted a thought or a question in your mind. Productivity is a brilliant thing, but how can you indulge the results of your productivity if you are unwell? We push ourselves so that we can be successful in the future, but how can we appreciate our success if we are always physically, emotionally, and mentally unwell? How can you indulge living in the moment if you're constantly exhausted and constantly dysfunctional? Ladies and gentlemen, today I wish to leave you all with some questions that I've asked throughout my talk earlier today. How important is that one YouTube video? How important is your GPA? How much more important is living and enjoying and remembering the moment you are in right now. How much more important is pursuing your passions and your dreams? Because we all have to dream before our dreams can come true. So please, let us give ourselves, give our children, give our students a chance to dream and to dream well. Thank you.